Holiday, celebrate. Not even the sad wedding singer style, but the upbeat Madonna style. Good morning, everybody. Paul Ihander with you. Max Goren is back as well on this Wednesday, July the 1st. Yes, indeed. The calendar has turned into the second half of the year. And happy Canada Day to those of you listening north of the border to us on the 99.9 The Fan app. And happy Free Agency Day when it comes to the NBA. And happy Free Agency Day when it comes to the NHL. Yes, indeed. The NHL will start free agency officially in 3 hours. If something happens between now and then, you will hear it on this show. You will certainly hear it on this station, and certainly throughout the entire afternoon as the NHL makes moves, the NBA makes moves, and, oh, by the way, Team USA is playing soccer tonight. There's a lot of fun things, which normally when the midweek rolls around, we start scratching our heads. We come up with a few different things to chat about, but today there's plenty of things to plow through. So let's get you up to date immediately. Okay, there is a new highest-paid defenseman in the NHL. The Chicago Blackhawks, who made a trade with Buffalo last week for Bowen Byram. They are signing the defenseman to 6 years, $75 million, which means every year he is on the Chicago Blackhawks' futile defense, he will earn $12.5 million. Max, he has just reset the market for defensemen. Okay, there you go.
I'm trying to find something nice to say, but they say
$12.5 million.
They say if you don't have anything nice to say, then just don't say anything at all. So, I mean, I think Chicago just lost that trade twice. They lost the trade when they made it and traded away the 4th overall pick, and then they lost it again when they agreed to pay a average top 4 defenseman. I think that is even being generous. $12.5 million per year.
It will be passed in Chicago because Connor Bedard is going to hit restricted free agency today.
Yeah, and
he's going to get paid.
They have to pay him. So why are you? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. At all.
That was one of the bigger pieces overnight. Actually, that happened this morning. Big piece overnight. Zach Werenski. Zach Werenski of the Columbus Blue Jackets turned down a deal to go to Dallas. Apparently, Carolina isn't the only place people don't want to play. Dallas has just snuck up the list. Now, Werenski has a no-trade clause, is considered, and he's the Norris Trophy winner. So if you think $12.5 million for Bowen Byram was big, Werenski is probably going to get paid even more money when he gets an extension, and he's still signed right now. His preferred destination, begin with the letter T, Tampa Bay and Toronto. And apparently Toronto is all in on making this one happen. And he would like to go there as well. So we'll see what happens with that story.
Would be a huge pickup for them as they kind of try to flip their team after they kind of bottomed out last year, then move up the draft board, get the number 1 overall pick, get Gavin McKenna. And now if they could pick up Zach Werenski as well, I mean, that could be a very accelerated retooling/rebuilding. I'll be interested to see what they do with Matt Nyes. I know that
a guy that was literally untouchable a year ago.
He was untouchable, but then there was the story, or I don't know if it was a rumor or a story or however you want to approach how this was reported, but apparently was about to be traded to Montreal at the trade deadline and didn't end up happening due to maybe some clerical errors. They didn't get everything in on time, so stayed a Maple Leaf, and now they head into this offseason with him as an asset. If that's something that they do want to move to try to get a player like Zach Werenski, you would have to figure that he would probably have to be a piece in that deal because, if I'm Columbus and I'm giving up the Norris Trophy winning defenseman,
I need something in return.
One of the best defensemen in the NHL, it's going to take a pretty solid return to make that happen. But I wonder what Dallas was offering. Apparently, Thomas Harley was a centerpiece of the deal, their young offensive defenseman. Why do you think he would have turned that down, Paul? Because Dallas is for all intents and purposes, like a contending team. Got out early in the playoffs this year, but had gone to the conference final, the last 3 years before that?
Western Conference is a beast, though. That is a beast. That's a grind. You are playing against some very, very competitive teams who continue to gear up year after year after year. And you have seen the Eastern Conference take the last 3 Stanley Cups, including the Carolina Hurricanes. I think that has probably a little bit to do with it as well. And also, Dallas seems to be in flux. It feels like, are they or are they not in on their own guy, Jason Robertson? Are they going to make a deal? They're tied up in some pretty big long-term contracts, and that team's not getting younger either. They don't have the capability to do that unless they unload big pieces. That's Max. I'm Paul. It is NHL Free Agency Day, as NBA Free Agency Day. It is Canada Day, and Team USA plays tonight. The latest on the Carolina Hurricanes. Are they in on Sergei Bobrovsky? Maybe. He's going to hit the free agent market for the first time since 2019. Are they in on Connor Hellebuck? Apparently so, according to TS insider Darren Dreger. Carolina remains a contender, nothing imminent. But it's a team that the Carolina Hurricanes have done business with, or at least taken some of their business with, when Nick Ehlers came here last year. They understand what the pitch is like. If Hellebuck is in play, I'm sure Nick Ehlers has already made that phone call and said, dude, you want to be here. You want to play for this guy. You want to be in Raleigh, North Carolina.
You think it's desirable to play for the reigning Stanley Cup champions?
It had better be.
I would think so.
It had better be.
I don't know though. Out of all of these guys that are rumored to be available that the Hurricanes are in the mix for, again, I'm not thrilled at the idea. And obviously, like, he's a great goaltender, and it's going to be a good pickup that helps improve your team, no doubt. But just in terms of like cap flexibility, like, you've already got 2 goaltenders signed for next season for under $4 million total. Do you want to put $8.5 million of your cap space towards just your goaltender, who, by the way, in his last 3 playoff appearances, if they do acquire him, don't go look up those stats, because it's not going to give you the most inspiration about his postseason performances. Now, of course, the defensive structure in front of him would be different in Carolina than it was in Winnipeg, but I mean, no matter what kind of defense is in front of you, I'm pretty sure one of these last 3 playoff runs, he had a goals against average over 5, which is insanely bad.
Well, who was he playing, though? Edmonton Oilers, right?
Yes,
He was playing the Edmonton Oilers.
I think that might have been Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas.
In that run, and I think that was the year they won the Cup, too. So, grain of salt and everything like that.
Listen, it's okay. These are out. These are real things, though. I'm like, it doesn't matter. If you still give up 5, I don't care if you're giving up 5 to the Monstars. You're still giving up 5. If you're giving up 3, you're still giving up those kinds of goals. But if Carolina's in on a national team goaltender who has history with one of your players, keep kicking the tires until you figure out if you want to drive it off the lot or not. Now, the other thing, this morning, Carolina's still working on John Carlson. They have 3 hours. I mean, they could extend. They have more time, but their exclusive window. And here's the deal. For me, if they felt that they weren't relatively close, or there was such a big gap, that they would have already shipped his rights somewhere else that would be just as palatable to him as the Carolina Hurricanes would be. And I'm not sure how many better situations there are when it comes to a defenseman like him, unless the money ask is just extraordinary. We just saw Byram get 12.5. He's not a Norris Trophy winner. Norris Trophy winners getting shopped elsewhere. But that's a big chunk of change. And if there's some realistic money, again, the NHL economy flip-flopped, right? The idea of kind of the flat cap and the flat money is gone. Like, people and players are demanding more money, and they're demanding places where they need to go. That is a big change in the NHL free agency period this season. But Carlson is a free agent, but Carolina does hold the rights. So Eric Tulsky, who has got to be sitting in his office right now, I'm sure he's got a bagel and a calculator in hand, that over the next 3 hours, if that deal is going to get done, it will get done today. And we will see something get pushed out at 12:01 p.m. saying that John Carlson's going to stay with the Carolina Hurricanes for umpteen years. 2, 3, 4, who knows? I'm not in that room. God, I'd love to be in that room, though. Also, Nikishin trade options are on the table. They continue to be. I'm not necessarily, and I said this yesterday, I'm not necessarily crazy about that. But we know that when it comes to the Canes, they have assigned values. And we know that sheet of assigned values has been rewritten in multiple seasons because of the rising cap situation. Do they have a deal on the table? Is there one just sitting there that they could? I have a feeling, just a gut instinct, just deep inside me. And I had 2 pieces of toast this morning and some pop chips for breakfast. But I have a gut feeling that there is a piece of paper or a Post-it note sitting right in front of Eric Tulsky that he is probably just staring at going, should I or shouldn't I? And he's got to trust his gut like he has over the past 2 seasons that the decision that is made will be the right one. And no matter what it is, Max, it will be unpopular.
Yeah, somebody won't like it.
Unpopular.
No matter what he did. I mean, if he traded like Bradley Nadeau and Jesperi Kotkaniemi for Connor McDavid, there'd be some people still upset. Like, oh, why'd they have to get rid of Nadeau? He had so much potential.
Why'd they get rid of 2 guys?
Yeah. I think perhaps the biggest move is one that we just don't see coming. And how many times have we said that, and how many times have they done that in recent years, right? Just kind of pull something out of left field. Like even the John Carlson trade on Saturday, I don't think anybody really expected them to go try to get his rights and try to sign him. I feel like Elliot Friedman in particular has mentioned a couple of times in the last few days that he still would not be surprised to see Carolina do like an offer sheet threat. And to me, I think he's kind of hinting at they're looking at some sort of big fish out there that they're going to make that move on. And you think about who are the big restricted free agents of this cycle. Jason Robertson is obviously one that's taken up a lot of airtime, a lot of discussion about him rejecting contracts from various destinations, although the teams that he was rumored to not be interested in have not been the most competitive over the last couple of years. But you know who's a restricted free agent, and you mentioned him earlier, Paul, is Connor Bedard in Chicago.
He is.
I would not be surprised in the slightest. Now, I think whatever Carolina would offer him, Chicago would probably end up matching. But I would not be surprised if they decided to just take a big swing at that, because we know this front office's penchant for making big, risky moves and trying to go get the best players available. Well, Connor Bedard is 20 years old, former first overall pick. Obviously, talent level through the roof, insane release and goal scoring ability. Look, if that is something that happened today, like I wouldn't be the most shocked. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying Connor Bedard will be a Carolina Hurricane in that situation, but just the way that Friedman has really been kind of consistently bringing it up. He'll throw it in at the end of a question about when he's talking about Nikishin or, whatever Connor Hellebuck rumors or whatever. He'd be like, by the way, I wouldn't be shocked to see Carolina do that offer sheet thing again. It's kind of unprompted, which to me tells me he's hearing something and something's going on.
Well, so the number that has been attached to Bedard is north of what Byram just got paid. Bowen Byram, by the way, if you were just here 10 minutes ago or you're just jumping in right now, Chicago Blackhawks signed the defense, made him the highest paid defenseman in the NHL, $12.5 million a year for the next 6 years. There is no place in the multiverse, not one spot, where Connor Bedard makes $1 less than Bowen Byram right now as a restricted free agent.
100%.
So this is $12.51 million minimum. That is the number that Eric Tulsky would have to find to even dangle that in front of him. He's got it. That's the crazy part. He actually has that money. They're in a unique position. If they don't get a Carlson deal done, John Carlson, the defenseman who they traded for the rights for during the NHL draft with their final pick, which was going nowhere. And this also shows you where Carolina Hurricanes and I line up a little bit when it comes to draft choices. Even if it's the first round or a late round, I'm like, these are just assets. You can drop them at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime.
And they haven't drafted in the first round since picking Bradley Nadeau a couple of years ago. They keep trading out of that first round to acquire more assets in later rounds.
And they do pretty well in those later rounds.
Yeah.
But this is, it's cards. It's Skittles being dumped out of the bag in your hand. How many do you want? I don't know. Just pour.
Yeah. Just give us a bunch.
Yeah. Just pour. So the Canes, this is what they can do or have been rumored to do right now. And again, things will get moving. Pretty sure. There's not a logjam right now when it comes to signings. The one thing that has to be done, and the qualifying offer's already been extended to Alexander Nikishin, whatever that number might be, it's out there. So there's draft compensation that would come back if someone picks up. Ideally, for the Carolina Hurricanes, if Nikishin is on his way out, then they get something in return.
Yeah, at least
something
get
positive.
Some kind of obviously they want players, and that's been the rumor as well, is that if they're going to move him, they want him for a useful roster player. But if it does end up being draft assets, that's something that you can flip back in another deal too. And we've seen Eric Tulsky be able to maneuver that as well. And by the way, when we're talking about restricted free agents, just a couple of the top ones on the board outside of Robertson, Bedard, Cutter Gauthier in Anaheim. I think he just had a 40-goal season, 69 points this last year.
A rejuvenation for him.
Trevor Zegras, Philadelphia. Leo Carlson.
Going the other way, yeah.
Leo Carlson, also in Anaheim. Great young center. And Adam Fantilli in Columbus are kind of the top restricted free agents at the top of the board. Look, if an offer sheet ended up going in for one of those guys, and another name also that's restricted free agent that maybe keep an eye on is Maverick Bourque in Dallas, because they're trying to deal with kind of a tight cap situation over there. Wouldn't be shocked at all to see any of these players receiving an offer sheet from the Carolina Hurricanes, just based on the risk that they like to take on and that they're willing to take on in trying to make these big moves, especially if they don't end up signing John Carlson by noon today, which, time's ticking on that. Obviously, less than 3 hours to go.
Clock's working forward here.
I wouldn't be surprised at all to see some big restricted free agent receive that offer from Carolina. But we'll see. It may not even have to really come down today, but they're going to want to get their hands in on whatever player before they end up signing elsewhere. Restricted free agents, I guess they can start receiving those offer sheets at noon, but we'll see what UFAs get off the board quickly when things officially open up this afternoon.
12 o'clock, that's when that clock starts ticking. The clock's been ticking, let's be honest. The free agent deadline of noon has felt incredibly artificial, especially in this offseason since the Canes won the Cup. And if the Hurricanes are in on Connor Hellebuck, if the Hurricanes are trying to sign John Carlson, if the Hurricanes are trying to deal Alexander Nikishin, any of that stuff happens, we'll bring it to you as it happens here on 99.9 The Fan. So just keep it here, lock it in. And if you haven't downloaded our app and you got to go out and about today, get out of the office or whatever it is, and I know this morning's traffic was kind of really nice. It was super pleasant coming in this morning. If you're running errands today, got to get yourself ready for a beach vacation or the 4th or whatever it is, take us with you. Download our app, 99.9 The Fan. Apple Store for your iPhone, Google Play Store for your Android.
I'm Max Goren with 3 things you need to know right now from 99.9 The Fan. NBA free agency opened for business yesterday with one notable player hitting the market. NBA all-time leading scorer LeBron James will leave the Lakers and look to play elsewhere for the 2026-27 season. It will be his 24th season in the league, breaking his own record set this year. NHL free agency also opens up today at noon. What moves will the Carolina Hurricanes make this week? Restricted free agent Alexander Nikishin is still unsigned as his name swirls in trade talks, while unrestricted free agent John Carlson could hit the open market. Stay tuned for Canes updates all day long right here on 99.9 The Fan. The U.S. men's national team plays its first knockout stage game in the FIFA World Cup tonight, facing off with Bosnia and Herzegovina in San Francisco at 8 o'clock. The U.S. is heavily favored to advance. If they get the win, they will face the winner of Belgium and Senegal in the round of 16. For all the latest news on your favorite teams, download the 99.9 The Fan app or visit 999thefan.com.
World Cup is here. World Cup is here. Round of 62 yesterday. Great games. I watched all these play out. France, by the way, they are a freight train with a nuclear missile strapped to the top, trailing supersonic vapor. That is an amazing soccer team. They are quick. They are innovative. They play defense, and Sweden had opportunities. They absolutely did. But the French, man, that is a good soccer team. They advanced yesterday over Sweden 3-0, 3-0. Norway in the early game knocked off Ivory Coast in what turned out to be quite the offensive clash late, 2-1. And then in the nightcap, Mexico advanced for the first time in many, many years, shutting out Ecuador 2-0. So today it is about England. I'm kidding. Although I think I want to see Harry Kane do his thing too. The United States in pool play, 2-0-1. The loss in the end of pool play not really mattering much because I believe they didn't play 6 regulars. Tonight, it's Bosnia-Herzegovina and your Team USA. The money line right now favors the United States. It's minus 260. The over-under is 2.5. And all eyes will be on the thighs of Christian Pulisic, who can pretty much cement himself as the new poster boy for Team USA soccer. Full-time poster child, whatever you want it to be for Team USA soccer. We haven't had a guy like that for quite a while that you can kind of go, yeah, it's superstar status. I remember for a while back in the last World Cup run, and this will date me very quickly, as you go back to names like, and you see them on TV regularly, Alexi Lalas, who was more famous for kind of the hair. That was like Shaun White, right? He was like the Shaun White of soccer. He had the kind of the wild, crazy hair, and you're like, oh, man, that dude's just crazy. And he plays soccer? Man, that's awesome. I want my hair like that. And then you always think of the goalie of that team, Tony Miola. Remember that dude? Like, those were the names of, like, the last generation.
Yeah. Tony Miola is awesome. Actually, I produced his one of his shows on Sirius XM a couple of years ago. Okay. Very, very nice guy.
So now you're looking for that new cat that steps up and becomes that guy for Team USA. And for Team USA, there's pressure, clearly. When the World Cup comes to your building, your house, you need to show up. And for anything less than this round of 32 should only be the start for Team USA. And anything less would not be ideal, especially the way the team is played, even without Pulisic. They get shots on goal. They have been outscoring teams. It has been a fairly dominant run, again, outside of that last junk game in Group D. But now it's one and done. You win and you move on. Now they don't get a 4th of July matchup. That would be kind of fun, right? I mean, if we could get one of those. But moving on your home turf would be spectacular for Team USA. It would do so much more. Not just so much for the sport in the United States, because I think as a collective group, when it comes to coverage of the world's biggest event when it comes to football, as they call it internationally, and by the way, our coverage is presented by North Carolina Courage and Wake Orthopedic. A Team USA win to move into the round of 16 would really galvanize folks, I think.
Yeah.
It really would.
Well, there's lots of positive momentum, I think, with this run already, with the way how good they looked in the first 2 games, plus despite the third game against Turkey being largely just a team of backups and still playing a pretty good game that ended up being a loss at the pretty much the last moment in stoppage time. I think there's a lot of positive momentum. I think people are feeling really good about the team. Some of the additions, particularly like Flo Balogun, thank goodness he decided to play for the U.S. and not for England. Although it's probably a lot harder to carve out a spot on that England squad than it is to make it onto USMNT. But he was great with the 2 goals in the first game. Exciting kind of new addition for people to rally around. Pulisic played a little bit in that last game. Looks like he's pretty much recovered and in good form going forward. So, I mean, they're heavily favored tonight. They should, in theory, get it done. I think Bosnia and Herzegovina is like 60th in FIFA rankings or 61st or something like that.
Oh, we've already seen upsets.
Yeah, no, and there have been upsets, so you can't take anything for granted. They're going to have to be sharp to get it done tonight. But should they get through that, then they would face the winner of Senegal and Belgium. What a throwback with Belgium, by the way. You go back to the 2014 World Cup with the game where Tim Howard had, I think it was 16 saves.
There you go.
And they still lost the game in extra time. So that would be a fun, maybe not so fun throwback, although hopefully it'd be a different result this time. And Senegal is a quality side as well. They got Sadio Mane among some other very talented players there. So it's going to be a step up in competition every step of the way going forward. And then I think the way the draw is set up, if the U.S. managed to win both those games and make to the quarterfinal, which would match their deepest run, the one they made in 2002.
Yeah, let's horse
It
cards.
it would be Spain lurking
there you
in the
go.
quarterfinal.
España.
It just keeps getting tougher. So just beat the team that's in front of you tonight in terms of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and then see if you can ride some momentum to your deepest finish, other than 1930, which they I think they made the semifinal. But
that was a great year for U.S. soccer.
Fewer teams, obviously.
96 years ago. We all remember that.
I was just watching the highlights last night on YouTube.
I bet you. Yeah, everything's on YouTube these days. Was it a drawing? Was it a flip book? It
was a silent movie.
A silent movie, right? Some guy yelling, "Oh
makes a
no!"
pass, and then it flashes up the card with the text, and he passes it over to Johnson. And
right.
But this there's some good vibes around USMNT. They've already reportedly reached out to try to extend the manager, Mauricio Pochettino, to the next World Cup in 2030.
And, Pochettino was so disappointed in the response after they had won Group D. He was like, y'all should be more excited about this.
I guess because it was coming off of a loss in the last game, I guess. But it's because they already locked it up. Like, it's not their fault that the tiebreaker rules changed, and they already locked up a easier group in an expanded field, which maybe that makes me think they were a little hasty to quickly offer him that extension before we saw them in knockout stage, but I guess it remains to be seen if that was a good move or not.
8 o'clock tonight. 8 o'clock tonight. Boy, if you just needed to jam more things into your brain, USA, Bosnia-Herzegovina.